let's look at the triangle. Since we just did a pitchfork and we were looking at ABCDs, if I draw a triangle from the bottom here to the top, down to the bottom. Now the reason why mine's not filled is because I have my opacity of my triangle set to 0. I can set the opacity to that so that it can be, you can fill it, you can not fill it, you can use whatever color you want. I tend to draw mine not filled. You can do it however you like. The triangle has the same type of features built into it. I can extend my lines off of each of the points that I've drawn. I can show my A, B, C, D. So A, B, C, up to D. I can show my D extension so that it extends D across so that when I am here, now it'd be difficult because I've got bars on my chart already, but if I draw this A, B, C and I extend it up, I'm getting this point, I'm showing this point, excuse me, as my D extension to where price is likely to come if this pattern is going to play out. And it actually came right up to that, bounced back down, and now is kind of playing around up here in this area. Same kind of thing. We show DC, E extension, and our 50% of D. So let's take the E off. Let's take the E off. I'll use that midpoint like that. Let's come back to here. Oh my. Well, crude's just been, there's no real good geometric patterns on crude here for the last, for the last couple months, because crude's just been on a tear to the downside. Now, if we took this and said that this is our A and this is our B and this is our C, that if we were going to extend that out, that our A, B, C, this would be our likely extension to the upside. Now we can see from A, B, C that we've reached our midpoint of our D. We still can't break above B. So the likelihood of this is a pretty good likelihood of this possibly failing back to the downside. Okay, so that is our triangle. Let's go back to our 5-minute chart. Okay, our 5-minute chart. All right. I don't have anything from a, just trying to set that up to about maybe there. So all I've done is I've drawn a trend channel. Now I just wanted to show you, even though this isn't a part of my drawbar, that in the trend channel's properties, if let's hide this for a second, and I'm not even sure what the default is anymore for a trend channel, but it probably looks more on the lines of your regression channel, to where you have an upper and a lower and a midpoint. You are able to go into this trend channel So what I've done here is I'm trying to draw the ranges and the cycles of the movement of crude. So we've come from here up to here, back to our midpoint, back to here, not quite to our midpoints, playing around to our midpoint, up to the top. I'm trying to draw trend lines in the cycles that this particular instrument might move. If I double click my trend line and I come into it, I can set up additional lines to get what I've done. Instead of just the top and the bottom, I can extend lines, and I use 50%. So you can see I'm looking at a 50 and a minus 50. I'm looking at a minus 100. I'm looking at a minus 150, a minus 200. Now you can put them any way you want, but and you can use 25 however you want to see it. I happen to use 50, which now when I draw that allows me to capture trend lines across the whole chart. My major trend from what I've marked as solid. Okay, I have some marked as solid and some marked as dash. My 100 lines, 200, 300, all solid. My 50 lines, all dashed. And I can see major and minor trend lines as how the market is trending to the upside at the moment. Now, again, that's not a part of my draw bar. I just wanted to show you, since we are talking about drawing tools, how that might work. Now, the next thing, let's look at the ellipse. If I go from the highest point here to the lowest point here, I see a circular ellipse. Now, what I've done is I'm looking at this, and I went from the high here to the low here. So now what I'm doing is I'm trying to play the right side of the ellipse. Now, rather than me talk about methodology, I think I talked about this a little too much in the very first video I did. If you want to understand a little more about how this might play out or what you might do from a geometric standpoint on this particular item, I would suggest you go back and watch my first video. What I will say is we box it, and we extend lines off the midpoint, the top, and the bottom, along with boxing it diagonally, vertically, and horizontally. The reason why you have two, the reason why you have a show labels as well as show a box, is my box is checked now and I'm showing my box. If I show my labels, I don't need to check the box because the labels draws the box, but it also places the labels. You can look at it either way. I allow you to draw midpoints in between the top, the bottom, and the mid. So let's say 25% now. Vertical midpoints, 50%, 100%, and a show time. Okay, let's crunch my chart a little bit. Here's our fit. Here's our range from here to here. A 50% extension, a 100% extension, both to the upper and the lower. Since we extended our times down, what we're saying then here is we began at this date and time. Now we're drawing it to here, so we're forecasting what's going to happen on this side of the ellipse, with this being the stop date. Now, I'm not going to get too much into the methodology behind to use this, and I don't use this. I personally don't use this. This was asked for by another customer that was playing around with geometric type patterns. So let's get rid of that. A lot of you probably won't use that same type of thing with the ellipse as far as the angular ellipse that goes along with the draw arrow, but some of you might. Okay, what are we down to? We're down to pretty close to the end. Our rectangle. I'm going to go from the high where we were from our line down to here. We can do the same thing with the rectangle that we can with the rectangles that I set up for the line and the arrow line. We can show labels and extend the top and the bottom. We can color that region going across, and that region will be colored forever. We can show our midpoints. We can show our range. We can show our 50 and our 100% forecasts. So the same type of thing that we could do with our rectangle before, we can now do with our line and our arrow line, which would leave us the rectangle. I definitely have to add that all on, all off. Which would leave my rectangle back to being able to use it as I might use it. Show there and fill. So all I've done is I've shown my labels and I've filled my regions, and I'm going to turn around and, well, let's not do it that way. Let's come up and turn this on, and let's just change that color to that, and that is our supply area. And then let's come down here and draw another one, and I'm going to say this is going to tend to be kind of a demand area right in here. And then if I draw this again, this pretty big region right there, but that will end up being a demand area as well. So if I want to draw support and resistance, or supply and demand, or zones, or whatever you want to call those, I can draw them with my rectangle. Now I use this particular feature a lot, and not being able to extend your rectangle was just an extreme hindrance in how I like to particularly look at things. So this now, by adding the rectangular feature and the ranges to both the line and the arrow line, frees me up to use this rectangle as my supply and demand, support and resistance type areas, and then draw my ranges with my other objects. But again, the same type of features are in here to show all of this as to show that. I haven't done anything with the text other than here in your color palette. You can change the font style of the text that you're using in your text box by using the regular bold or italicized, so that when you're drawing text on a chart, let's just say that I want to draw some text on a chart, and I want to put it here, and let's just say blah blah, and that will be italicized. Or if I wanted it bold and I wanted to draw some more text, blah 2, blah 2, I can do that real quick and easy through my style of my color palette versus having to come in and adjust all of this stuff down here. And again, I believe that it will work with the line width. If I say 4 bold text, blah, blah. You'll see that that's a little bigger now, and now this works with that as well. So let's get rid of the text. There's not a lot you can do with arrow ups and arrow downs and all of this, so nothing has been done here. This is our remove all draw objects. Now I'm not going to do that right now, but whatever, you select them, select all and go, or select whatever happens to be drawn. It's no different than the remove all draw. It's the exact same thing as the remove all draw objects. I can use this icon, or I can come down and drop down NinjaTrader's icon and use the same type of thing. So let's turn this off for a second. Let's hide this. Let's hide this, and let's go back to the beginning. If we left, okay, one more thing before I go on. So this was our draw objects. I haven't done anything with the ruler. The ruler is the ruler. If you want to show it and use it, that's fine. I'll cover these here in a second. Then I'll cover some of these others. This icon, oh. Okay. This, the icon right next to remove draw objects is a $sign. If I middle click that, it will show you your trades. Now I'm not connected to data, and I don't know that this is associated to an account, so it's not going to show anything on my charts. But if I use the pull down, I can select how I want to display my trades. Do not plot, which then if I hide and show this, it's not going to plot anything anyway, since I have do not plot. Or I can select markers only or text and markers, and whatever I select here will remain here. And then when I show, well, let's just say text and markers. So if I had any trades on here, if I was connected to data, this would show you my trades based on that. I can middle click that and it would hide those trades. This is a price line. It will draw a line or a ray depending on how you have your properties set up in the properties of the draw bar. It will draw a line and or a ray on your chart. It does take one tick from the time that you activate it for it to show up on your chart. So I believe that I can make that work. First of all, let's get rid of this. Okay, and I'm going to refresh my chart, and there's my price. Okay, I can show you how this will work. Refreshing my chart here, price is trading at 52.07. As price moves, that line on your chart is going to move with price as to where price is currently trading. Now you know that in this case it's only moving at the bar close, but this would work in real time if you were connected to data and data was coming in. In the indicators properties of the draw bar, we have a price line settings. I can use a line, which is true, or I can use a ray. If I turn number one to false, I can set it to be a dash, a line, color, the weight of it. If I'm going to use a ray, I can select how many bars back my ray will display. And in this case, we'll just use the default. We'll turn it from line to ray. We'll go back just a little bit, refresh our chart, and now you can see that now you just have an indication going 10 bars back. That's 10 bars back from the left on where price is trading. So you can use it as a line, you can use it as an array, you can format it, color it, however you choose fit. I tend to look at it both ways. In one aspect of things, the array is less cluttering on your chart. In another aspect of things, by using the line, you now then can continue to look to the left to see where price is currently trading in relation to its historical price bars. Meaning that now if I have this over to the left, and I can see the line, I can relate it with a line that it's coming into here. It's coming into this area here, which this area right here, once it's coming down here, you're kind of hoping that this area might hold, or maybe you're thinking that this area up here might hold, and that when it comes back down, in any case, you can look at this and relate it to where it was trading previously in price, and sometimes that's very helpful. We're going to turn that off. This, we'll draw that line again. This is a label. I need to change that tooltip. That is to show and hide all labels, meaning if I middle click this, every label of every drawn object that I've used on my chart will be hidden, and only the lines and the fills that I've selected in my options will be left. It's just a quick, easy way that if I had a ton of things on my chart that were all out here and put on my chart, that if I let that had all kinds of labels and everything on my chart, it's a quick, easy way of getting rid of all of that and just leaving your lines. I personally don't use that. If I put something on my chart, I tend to want to see the price and the tick offset that's being displayed. That was a kind of a request early on from a customer, and I added it. So we're going to turn that off, come back to here, go to here, go to here, clean up our chart a little bit. This icon here is a show hide NinjaTrader's toolbar. We see that NinjaTrader places a toolbar on our chart, and I place the drawbar in a toolbar right above it. If I middle click this particular icon, I can hide NinjaTrader's toolbar. It gives me just a little more vertical space on my chart, a little cleaner of a chart. This is how I look at my chart for the most part. I shouldn't say that. I've gotten to the point now to where I really guess I don't hide NinjaTrader's toolbar as much, because all of my indicators I put an icon in NinjaTrader's toolbar. And like the drop-down icons that are on the draw objects, each of my indicators have drop-downs that I can quickly and easily change the way that I look at the indicator through the drop-down icon without having to go into the properties and refresh my chart every time. And oh, it's just a pain in the ass. And then each of my icons, I can middle click on my icons just like I can any of the draw objects and hide all of the plots or whatever's being displayed. No matter what I put on my chart, I have to be able to hide it. I don't want to have to go in and remove it for it not to be able to be shown. And that's why I've designed and customized most of the indicators that you see on my website. Okay, the very last icon we have over here, if I middle click, if I hover over it, it says Chart Pan. And if I middle click on that, it doesn't, I've changed this around a little bit, it doesn't activate the Chart Pan yet. you'll notice that if you left click on the chart and drag, if I drag up and down, NinjaTrader doesn't let me drag up and down on the chart. It lets me drag left and right. If I activate this particular, let's scrunch this up a little bit, if I unhide this and I hold my control key down and now I left click, now I can drag and rotate my chart both vertically and horizontally to position it wherever I want. Again, I've added the control key portion of that mainly from a resource standpoint. I want to be able to leave this unhidden, but I don't want the resources associated to that event handler to be active all of the time. So now hold the control key down, and you can pan your chart around through the use of this particular icon. Going to hide that. Okay, this particular icon right here. For the moment, let's go back to a 30-minute chart, and let's undo this a little so that my icons are bigger. If I use the pull down on this, it gives you, I have a couple things that this will do. I can hide all of my bars. So let's just say I have indicators on here, or I have a bunch of lines on here, and for whatever reason, this was a customer's request, for whatever reason, okay, I see where price is. I see where price is, and I have my lines, and I don't want to be concerned with the bars. I just want to see price, my indicators, or whatever I have drawn. I give you that ability. I don't use it much, but it's there. We'll show all bars again. This is show current bar. I don't know if it'll work since I'm not connected to data. No, it won't. But it might if I go back to here, refresh my chart again. No, because I can't go the other way. I added this after I had the request to show all bars. I added that feature to do some testing for myself from more of a psychological type manner. I wanted to hide the current bar that's being displayed, meaning price is coming here, price is coming up. I've got a big range bar. I've got another big range bar that took out the high. Got a little indecision or a hammer type bar here. It's going up. Here's where we're taking out the stops that are being placed below our little hammer here. We're still not back into about the 50% of this area. I'm going through, too much methodology for you right here. I've got my little area here that I might consider it should be support if they're going to hold it up and not bring it back down into this area down here. I see my little doji or my spinner here, and now I want to start playing it up. So if I buy here and I place my stop under here, I wanted to not show the current state of the bar, and I can also turn off my price marker. So now, while this next bar is going, I am not letting current price induce fear, indecision, or decisions in my trading. I've decided, based on this bar here, I was going to enter here. My stop was below here, and I'm targeting this upper end somewhere between this area up here. So I'm long here, I'm coming up here. I don't want the current fluctuation of price of this single bar to influence my decision. This is hypothetical, and this was just something I was trying out. That's why I put this particular the show current bar into the feature of this, so that I could experiment with that methodology. So we're going to turn that back on. We're going to turn price markers back on, and this is all on by default. And then this bottom one here, how do I explain this? Show bar gap on daily charts, weekly charts, yearly charts, even minute charts. The close of the previous bar here and the open of the next bar doesn't have to be the same value. In this big range bar down here and this reversal one here, we see we closed, this bar closed at 52.13, and this bar here opened at 52.15, actually in a 2-tick gap upwards. If I were to turn that on, I don't think this will show. It won't, because the bar's already shown. But when this bar appears at the start of this bar, while it continues to form, an arrow will be drawn here showing that this bar opened with a gap up. So in this case, we closed here at 69. The next bar opened at 65 with a gap down. In this case, I would add a little arrow right above that to show that this bar formed in a gap. It is only going to be applied to the current bar that's in place. Once the next bar forms, this is going to go away. If the next bar was not a gap, you won't see anything. If the next bar is a gap, you will see it on this side, since this was a gap up, or you would see here for being a gap down. One of the other, and it is on the current bar only. Once you apply this and say show gaps, you are not going to see any gaps. It is only going to affect future bars, and it will only take place at the beginning of the next bar if a gap took place. The next thing that I've added to this is a show bar organics. The price action type of theory, and where does price close in relation to its current bar, or where does price close in relation to the previous bar or a historical bar of some type, or where is price now in the current bar in relation to itself? We have two lines here in the middle. We have a 45 and a 55. So right in the middle of that, this 52.47 is the middle of this white bar. That would be the exact middle of the range of that entire bar. This is 45, this is 55, this is 78.6, this is 21.4. Currently, those are hard-coded into the indicator. I almost set it up so that you could choose the levels that you want to see, so that you could actually hide or show the midpoints or the quarters or however you wanted to look at them. But right now, this is hard-coded into the indicator itself. And again, I'm not going to get much into the methodology other than to tell you that it is included in the drawbar, and you can get to it just through the drop down showing bar organics. I also, if we hover over this, we can see that we can see the price markers for that. So over on the left-hand side, if I wanted to see the price markers of those values of the current bar, I can. Now, I don't necessarily look at that for the price markers that I use in my right-hand side of my chart are more of areas of interest, that when I look over there, that I want to see exactly what my areas of interest are. Plus, when we start looking at something like this, they're awful close together unless you spread your bars out quite large. Okay, let's go ahead and turn those off. Let's make sure all my draw objects are gone. Let's go back to a 5-minute chart. Let's crunch this up to the way that we had it previously.